hello there. It's your girl Valerie Mason Chase again, and welcome to another episode of Marriage Beyond the Breach. Well, I done gone and did it again. We have a topic tonight that I think is going to resonate with so many of you in your personal life and your professional life, and most probably in your relationships as well. So first off, I want to thank anyone who is watching now. And if you haven't already done so, I would appreciate if you would subscribe to the YouTube channel. That's Marriage Beyond the Breach on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Instagram. Well, y'all, I'm not saying it's just because it's me, but I'm saying it because it's me. Marriage Beyond the Breach, we have the most amazing guest panelists ever. And tonight is no exception. These are four phenomenal women. You know that poem written by Maya Angelou, Phenomenal Woman, Phenomenally? Well, all four of these sisters fall into that category. So I'm going to bring them on one by one. And ordinarily, I would have each person share something about themselves. But in the interest of time, because we have a lot to cover tonight, you can go under the description on the YouTube page, the description of this episode, and each woman's bio is there. Okay, so I'm going to bring on somebody. She's here for the very first time, y'all, and I don't want it to be her last. So y'all, please give an amazing Marriage Beyond the Breach shout out for my sister, Miss Lia Hannon Sylla. Come on, Miss Lia.
Hey. Thank you, Valerie. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's so good to have you here. You know, I tried to get you here since last year, but I got you now. And as I do with so many of the guests, I want to hold on to you. I won't monopolize all of your Sundays, but I do want to get some of them. So thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Everyone again,
I'm excited.
Go to the description, under the description, and you can find Lia's bio. Okay. Hey, Natalie. Hey, Miss Ollie. Thank you so much for watching. I'm going to bring on someone who has been here with us before, none other than the queen of cooking, Miss Toya Davis. Hey, Toya. So it's so good to have you back here on tonight. And for those of you who don't know, Toya is my niece. She is married to my wonderful, handsome nephew, Rock Davis. So thanks, Toya, for being here on tonight. And just FYI, Toya indicated that she may not be able to stay for the entire program. So if you have any questions for her, put them in the chat early. If you have questions or comments at all, feel free to put them in the chat. Hey, Natalie. Good to see you, Natalie. Hey, Miss Ollie. Thank you so much for watching. So this next individual I'm going to bring on, y'all already know, I call her one of my favorite people on the planet. I absolutely adore this woman, and she's been here a lot. She's actually a regular guest. The only person who shows up here more than her is me. That is none other than Dr. Danita Thompson. Hey, Dr. Danita.
Hey, Valerie. Hi, Leah. Hi, Toya. Thanks for having me again.
Hello.
Yes. You are, I think you are a favorite guest among all of the listeners. So welcome back, Dr. Danita. I appreciate you being here so often. And, you know, one of these days, whenever my channel gets monetized, because if I'll make a quarter, y'all gonna make a nickel. Okay, so if I am not in a position to offer any monetary anything for your appearance, but one of these days I am praying, y'all pray in agreement with me, because I would love to be able to do that. I am close to the point where I can get monetized. I have enough subscribers, but there's a couple of other things I have to just kind of work out. But anywho, y'all pray with us. Okay. Speaking of sisters, I'm about to bring on this individual who I have to fight with the cookie man when I say this. I call her my biggest cheerleader, and that is none other than my baby sister, Miss Jacqueline V. Lawrence. Hey, sis.
Hello, everybody. Good to be here.
So, hey, sis, I'm so glad that you are. I'm here tonight. I'm so glad that all of you are here. We have a lot of ground to cover. Hey, Lauren, thank you so much for watching. So, we're going to get right into it. This is what we're talking about tonight. I'm running my mouth so much, and I did not even introduce the topic. So, tonight we're talking about the strong Black woman syndrome. And I would imagine that those of you who are Black women have at some point heard that saying, strong Black woman. You may have considered yourself to be a strong Black woman, but what does that really mean? What does it look like? What are the implications? What are the benefits? What are the downsides for this whole strong Black woman syndrome? So that's what we're going to get into tonight. And I just want to start off by asking, well, let me just say this. Y'all know when we have folk on here that is saved and sanctified and filled with the Holy Ghost, when I ask a question, everybody wait on everybody else, but just chime right on in, okay? Any of y'all can answer any question, and all of you can answer every question. I'm perfectly okay with that, because the more perspectives we have, I think we can get a broader view and understanding of this whole notion of the strong Black woman. So I want to start by asking how can you define strong Black woman syndrome, and where did this concept originate?
Well, I mean, I'll chime in first because I'm considered a strong Black woman. I think it originated from back in the days of slavery, where, us as women took on a lot. We wanted to care for everyone. We wanted to take care of everyone. And I think it just, as time went on, we were just used to taking care of everyone. And I don't think it should have a negative connotation. I think, unfortunately, it has, in today's society or culture, it's considered negative. But to be a strong Black woman means to not only take care of yourself, but take care of everyone and everything. Sometimes I think it's just innate within us just to want to nurture and to take care of our own. And it can be perceived as a bad thing. And I think it can sometimes, especially when you can't relinquish it when you need to. But I think that's where it comes from.
Okay. Anybody else want to add to that?
To kind of piggyback off of what Toya just said, I think, when she talked about going back to the time of enslavement, that there was an element there. Nothing about that period of time was about choice. And I think a lot of it came down to what was required for survival. And so when I think about, how women had to maintain a sense of the attempt to maintain a sense of routine, normalcy, community, especially as families were actively and intentionally broken up, that we actually absorbed that responsibility, and then on top of it, then we add the caretaking of the children of the enslavers, right? So there's this concept that started that we are capable, not that we're not, but that there was little room to be otherwise, right? It was either that or not survive. And so I think to kind of offer that perspective as well, that I think we absorbed it and it was a way of survival. And it has stuck for good, for bad, for all of everything in between that it is stuck. Yeah,
that's good.
So to put some words to the definition, I would say women who are considered strong Black women are resilient, self-sufficient. They're the ones who often suppress their own needs and their own emotions for the sake of looking out for others. And to piggyback off of Lia as well as Toya, again, that was built, those traits were built because the women just didn't have a choice. And if they were going to survive, they were going to learn how to be resilient and self-sufficient. and put themselves to the side so that their family could survive as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Jackie, you want to add anything?
No, I think the ladies have pretty much said all of it. One thing though, as I was thinking about the question and doing some Bible study, Genesis chapter 3, when Satan went, the fall, the temptation and the fall, Satan went to Eve. He didn't go to Adam, who God had ordained as the leader. So even then, the enemy went to the woman in order for and the woman had to be the one to make that decision. So it's sort of like she was chosen to be strong in that particular situation. And I think it's just something along with slavery that we've just carried on up until this time.
Yeah, that's good. I think everything that has been said by everyone, just putting it all together, and I think that kind of covers the gamut of the strong Black woman, where it originated and why it originated. There was an article that I was reading, and I just want to share a little bit of it. And it says, strong Black women, quote unquote, do it all and without complaint. Strong Black women typically take on a social script that acknowledges them primarily when they tolerate the intolerable. Within the theoretical framework of the strong Black woman schema, Black women are to put others' needs before their own, succeed against any odds, and possess strength without vulnerability or dependency. Wow. When I read that, I said that is saying a lot. And that, I think, kind of describes kind of the backside of being a strong Black woman, because there are some advantages, and we're going to talk about that some more as we go along. But I would like to know, from your perspective, what are some common misconceptions about the strong Black woman that society at large may hold?
Woo, there are a lot. Sorry, I just chiming. I'm sorry. That a strong Black woman doesn't need a man. That a strong Black woman is too independent to ask for help. That we are too masculine. Those are the ones that I hear, the most. And a lot of times, even in the workplace, in a corporate workplace or any workplace where there are other races, a strong Black woman is considered the B word. We're not considered the same as a man, a Black man or a white man. We're considered like so many other names, which I'm not going to say, but, those are some of the misconceptions of a strong Black woman.
Okay. Yeah.
I think structurally, I think, when we look at systems, that there's a belief that it's inherent, like we're just made this way. We came out the womb and we're just like ready to go. And I think that transcends, like I keep saying the word, like that transcends even into areas like the medical field, where in childbirth, right, that there's this belief that Black women didn't need the same level of pain pain care, right, because we had a higher tolerance for pain, right? And so the misconception that we are automatically strong, that is an inherent part of who we are, not that strength is bad, but that it then means we need less, right? And so when that misconception, it trickles down into every aspect of our lives, even as we seek care for our bodies, for our physical bodies.
Yeah, that's good. That's really good. And I can tell you, as someone who was in healthcare for 41, 42 years, I saw that played out in real time, especially when I worked in the emergency department. And I recall when I was going to have a hysterectomy, and I asked my OB-GYN, about doing a vaginal hysterectomy. So, as opposed to either total abdominal or lap assisted. And this is what she said. She said, well, something about how with Black women, it's more challenging to do a vaginal hysterectomy because whatever the fibers are that hold our uterus in place are heavier and stronger than white women. And therefore, she would have to do a lap assisted.
She had research for that?
That's what I was going to ask.
No, she didn't have any research because I asked her about it. I said, where were you getting this from? And I actually, she didn't know I was a nurse because I rarely tell anyone I'm a nurse out in public, even to, my healthcare people. And I told her, I said, as a nurse, I've never heard of anything like this. And she said, oh, well, it's just kind of been my experience. So, yeah, there is that thought that somehow our body, even our physical bodies as Black women, it's just different, has a different makeup than women of other ethnicities. So, yeah, that is an excellent point, Leah. Excellent point. Anybody else want to add to that about misconceptions that society may hold?
Just that we have it all together and just limited need for assistance, whether it be emotional, physical. We just got it together.
Yeah. This is something I just thought about. And I thought about it as Toya was giving her response. So where does that whole idea of the angry Black woman fit in to this particular strong Black woman syndrome?
I think it's because even though society has said that we are all those things, they call us those names, they say that we can handle everything on our own and that we need less assistance from anyone. But then on the flip side of that, they look at us as if we are angry because we have to be laser focused to be responsible and handle all of the things that we have to take care of. And I think that's where society feels like our anger comes from. And it's just us being laser focused because we have so many responsibilities. We carry a lot of the burdens of the family. And so with that, we don't walk around with smiles every day. We don't have time to play games all the time. Who remembers there was a commercial, 1980, 82 maybe, it was for perfume. And of course it was just Caucasian women on the commercial. I can
Anjali.
Bring it home and fry. Thank you. Yes. Right? Caucasian women, they went out, they went to work, they came home, they cooked dinner, they put on the sexy clothes for their husband. They were able to do all of that, but had a Black woman had have done it, how dare we? Because while we have to be the 24-hour woman in reality, which is what we have to do, but we cannot be viewed as, it can't be viewed in a positive light.
Yeah, that's good.
And I think anytime you start challenging what is beneficial for other people, that it then it's manipulation, right? So if you challenge what is convenient and beneficial and profitable, literally and figuratively, to other people, then and starts to disrupt what was working, then you have to become the bad guy, right? And so the minute we start saying we're tired, or as what we all see now is the 92%, right? And we're not going to do X, Y, and Z. Is that now, right? Now we're not friendly, or now we're not team players, or we're not we're not soft enough, we're not feminine enough, we're not, right? All the things, because the minute we start pushing against the narrative that was created for us, we become the bad guys in others' eyes, and therefore we become aggressive, angry, all of the whistleblower words.
And Miss D said that slavery made us tough. You know, we didn't really have options, and so we have limited tolerance for foolishness. We got to get it done. Right. And so when you have that weight on you and all of the responsibilities that come along with being this strong Black woman, it's very hard to juggle, just taking those moments to be soft and to put everything else aside. It's not that many hours in a day.
Right. That's very true. And, I find it interesting that sometimes we're not allowed to have that balance of being in the middle. We are either thought of as passive or we're thought of as aggressive, but rarely are we thought of as assertive. And I find that very interesting that others are allowed to be assertive, but when we are assertive, it's seen as being aggressive. I don't know if you all have experienced that, but I have certainly experienced.
I agree.
Absolutely. I mean, the terminology for the things that we do and the behaviors that we have are always different. From those the lighter hue. So the terminology is always negative, often negative.
So, Dr. Dean, you just brought up slavery, and I want to talk about what is the intergenerational impact of this strong Black woman syndrome. So how do you think older women and younger Black women view strength differently? So what are your thoughts on that?
I just want to say, I think that older Black women use strength as more as their character, as in taking care of people, nurturing people, being knowledgeable and things like that. And I think the younger generation sees it as more finance-based. Like, I don't need, well, I could buy this and I don't need you for this. Well, I could do this, and I think that's really the difference. And, trying to, my daughter is 18, so trying to teach her the balance of both, because her friends speak to her and then I speak to her because she sees me in a different light as what her friends speak to. And I don't want her to be considered as an angry Black woman, but I want her to be able to articulate herself and speak in a way that people, respect her. And I've had to learn that. And it's hard to do when you're in certain settings. But with her and her generation, it's based on finance. And I can do this for myself and I don't need you, versus I can take care of you. I can help you. I can help you grow. So I think that's a big difference in, the generation.
Okay, that's good.
I think with older women, it's like a badge of honor, that they're able to conquer and do all the things that come along with being a strong Black woman. I think this younger generation, especially over the last few years, where mental health has become a lot more acceptable, I think younger women today are really embracing vulnerability more than we did. They're embracing it and seeing it, able to communicate that it is a strength. Much more today, I think, than I don't think we were able to do that at all. We didn't see it at all. Yeah.
I agree.
So I think that to pull what you, Dr. Danita, and what Toya said together is there's this it's the privilege of independence and the privilege of autonomy. And if you think about it, we hear like, oh, I'm in my soft girl era, right? That for all the things that we say about the younger generation, as an elder millennial myself, that one thing what they're not going to do is just do what previous generations have done, right? And so I think they are very intentional about saying, no, I am not picking that up, whatever that is. I'm not carrying that on my back, because of the work of the previous generations, though. It's, young, like your daughter Toya, can now say, I'm independent financially. Like I don't have to rely on X, Y, and Z to sustain me and hold me. So I think it's for the younger generation to be able to have that option. One is one of the fruits of the work, the burdens, the carrying of the older generation. So I think it speaks to an element of privilege that our elders haven't had. And in that sense, I think it's a luxury of sorts.
That they don't even know is a luxury.
And you're right. They don't know it's a luxury.
Yes, that's good. And that you said soft girl era. I haven't heard that.
Oh my goodness!
Let me tell you,
I haven't heard that either.
What does that mean, though? What does it mean?
They want to be kept women.
They want soft girl. They want luxury. They want slow mornings. They want flexible hours. They want vacations. They want rest. They want partnerships, but they're not doing all the work.
Husbands that will take care of it all, and just all you have to do is show up.
And,
but to speak to that, it's hard to relinquish your strong girl for that soft girl era. Like me coming in my relationship with my husband, it was astounding to me because most men that I've been with, I had to take care of or carry, and I thought it was normal. Like I thought it was a normal thing. I'm gonna help you. I see your potential. I'm gonna let you. We're gonna grow together. I'm gonna wait for you. And that was definitely not the way. And with my husband, it was completely different. He's like, "Why didn't you ask for help? Why didn't you call for me? Well, why didn't you?" And I'm like, I'm not used to that. And I really had to get used to relinquishing some of that strength to him and not feeling like it depleted me or made me soft. So, a lot of women do want that soft girl era. But if you are as strong as some other women are, it's very hard to relinquish that. Very hard.
Yeah. So, not for nothing. So is that being offered out there? And how come that wasn't being offered back when I was the man, as the Jamaicans say?
I mean, listen, you know what? And I'm going to say, I'm so happy that I found it in my almost close to 50, because during the dating, I didn't find that. It was, what can you do for me? What can you cook for me?
What do you bring to the table?
Yes. What do you bring to the table? Are we splitting this 50-50? Are you going to pay this time? Are you going to, excuse me? Like, what happened to the man taking care of the woman? It's just so many different levels to it. But they're out there. But as we say, you have to pray for it, and you have to have a man that's a leader and who's going to lead you with God first.
Yeah,
absolutely, Toya. Well, listen, I've never experienced the soft girl era. At this stage of the game, I probably won't. That's an interesting concept, though.
It is, actually. I think this is the softest soft girl era I've had in my 68 years. I think it's it's time to be soft, and I get that. But that's an interesting concept. My soft girl era. Okay, I'm gonna have to do some research and look that up. Go ahead, Leah.
I think so. In counseling, and working with Black women, that one of the difficulties is literally what Toya just spoke about, is that in our strength, we also get accustomed to a certain amount of control.
Yes, absolutely.
And so it's hard, it's learning, we talk about like that type A personality, a lot of control. Sometimes it's, that codependence where I'm trying to manage everything for everyone and how you feel and all of those things. And so, it's reconciling with the idea that soft girl era also requires us letting go of some control And then there's all the other factors that play into it. Do we have a soft place to land? Have our past experiences taught us that it's safe to let go of control? You know what I mean? And so I don't want to oversimplify it, but I think that some of the things that we see in the counseling profession as Black women are trying to navigate, I'm tired, or I don't want to have to carry things all the time, is so what are you willing to let go of, right? Are you willing to let people fall and scrape their knees without you rushing in and fixing everything for them? Or, you know, or sometimes when we start enabling, you know, our people. So I think it's, and maybe you can speak to this, Dr. Danita, you know, to what you've seen of that.
Yeah, I don't think that I get that many women who are looking to transition to be the soft, to receive the soft life. They are tired, and they do recognize that they can't keep up the pace. Figuring out what to let go and what to relinquish is huge, because if you think about it, women who have been married for 20 years, 30 years, or whatever, and they've been doing whatever they're doing, they learned along the way. And now if they relinquish, the husband has to learn. So now we have, now, you know, that to feel safe within that learning process for these women is, you know, is challenging.
Yeah.
But the girls that are looking for the soft life, they haven't picked up responsibility yet. They at their parents' house, and the dads are still taking care of them, even outside of the house. They got a soft life, period.
Already, yes.
Right, already. And they're just looking for the husband to pick up where the dad will, you know, step up.
Okay.
Yes.
I got it.
Yes, and that's, I'm sorry, I just want to reiterate what Dr. Danita said, and she's right. With the older generation, we were already taking care of or helping our family. We grew up cooking and sewing and doing all these things, so we were made strong already for our families and for our siblings, and then made strong for the man that was coming in our lives. And right now in this generation, it's not like that. They're not made strong. So their soft error is not our soft error. It's two completely different things. My soft error is not about you paying for a trip. My soft error is not you paying for my nails and my feet, you know, pedicure and manicure. That's not my soft error. My soft error is recognizing that I need time for me, and you need to help where there are important matters regarding our family, and that's going to help us grow and prosper. You know, that's my soft error. So I think there is a difference within generations. Yes.
Yeah, that's good. Miss Ollie said the soft life ladies are spoiled.
We did it. You know, I'm not going to. They couldn't have gotten spoiled without their parents spoiling them. That just is
exactly. Exactly. And you know what, Dr. Danita, I get that, because every generation wants the one that follows to not only do better than they, but to not have to deal with some of the hardships and challenges and difficulties that we faced. So one of the ways that we prevent that maybe is giving more than we probably should, that perhaps lends itself to being what some people may consider to be spoiled. And it isn't that we want our children to be spoiled. We just don't want them to have to struggle as much as we did. I know what a struggle it was for me, and I didn't want my children to have to face that same struggle. And I know I gave them a whole lot more than my mother gave me, and they're giving their children more than I gave them, which I think is kind of okay, as long as there's some teaching that accompanies the giving.
Yeah, it's a hard balance. It honestly is.
Yeah,
it is.
Like I said, I agree, you know, Auntie, because my mother was very, very strict and just don't do this, don't do that. But it wasn't teaching me. She didn't teach me certain scenarios and what to expect and things like that. It was just don't do it. So you know, there was a lot of trial and error for me. And it helped me because I don't know if I'm strong. I don't know, but it helped me. But there are some women it may not have helped. They may have gone down a different path. So, you know, with my children, it's not just don't do this because I said so. For me, it's don't do this because these are the repercussions of your actions. You really have to make sure, do you really want to do this? Like, this is what can happen. And I think that's one of the things that, you know, we need to do with our children, especially today, because, you know, if we don't tell them, they're going to see it, they're going to hear it. You know, we have this technology age, they can find and see anything that they want. So, you know, you definitely have to teach as well as discipline.
I'm looking at the comment that the younger generation is focused on being strong by and for themselves, whereas the older generation was being strong to take care of a family and raise a family. And while I do agree with that, I just remember my youngest is 28. She's 28. I remember as I was raising her, I didn't want the focus to be on her taking care of a family because I wanted her to go out and enjoy life. I got married at 18. I did not want that to be the focus. I want her to be able to cook for herself. I want her to be able to, you know, maintain her bedroom, maintain her apartment that she's in now. But I didn't want the focus to be, you're going to leave this house and start having babies and have a husband. I want you to go out and enjoy life. So again, we may have set that up for them to focus on themselves.
Yeah. And that's not necessarily a bad thing as long as focusing on yourself does not transition to being selfish. I think everything is about balance. Everything is about balance. So Lauren said that her mom used to say, do it because I said so and don't ask questions. Girl, my mama said the same thing. I couldn't fix my mouth to say something. I had to take that whooping with a closed mouth. And sometimes I wasn't even allowed to cry. Lauren said, try to make sure that her children got the answers from you. Absolutely. You know, that's kind of a double-edged sword. And it depends on the child, because, you know, y'all know I have 3 children. And my middle child, bless his heart, we call his nickname is Hammy. So I used to always tell my children, listen, it's okay to ask me questions. You could question anything, but just do it respectfully. Okay? Because just because I'm an adult doesn't mean I know it all. I don't know everything. But if I'm giving you certain instructions and you want to ask me questions, I'm all for that, but do it respectfully. And so Hammy would ask 1,000,001 questions, not of me, but of any adult, because I told them, I don't know, right or wrong, but it's okay to challenge. If an adult asks you to do something, you can ask. Just be respectful in the asking. You don't have to do something just because you are instructed to do so by an adult. But Hammy kind of took it to the next level, and he would ask everything. He would challenge everything, whomever it was, didn't care. But yeah, that was my middle child. So, how does this stereotype of the strong Black woman, how do you think it influences expectations within a romantic relationship?
Well, I think that men's expectations are unrealistic of women, but I also think that Black women, our expectations of ourselves are unrealistic. So there's not a balance with either one of us, because society as a whole, as we're talking about, are accustomed to us being that Black woman. And so men, a lot of men, not all, some men, say that they want a strong Black woman, but then they don't know how to appreciate the strong Black woman that they have. They also don't know how to make room for her to lean into them or to lean on them. And then we, as Black women, we come into a relationship with the expectation of ourselves of being able to do it all and not needing anybody to help us along the way.
Yeah. I agree. And like I said, I think when you meet the right person, the expectations are realistic, because at the end of the day, you want each other to be okay. You want to help one another in whatever which way that you can. So even though he knows that you're a strong Black woman and he knows you have his back and he knows that you can handle certain things, he also doesn't want to see you get to the point where, you know, you're getting into a depression. You know what I mean? I mean, there are certain men that will work you into the ground because if they know that they can. And, you know, that's definitely not the right, you know, relationship. So, you know, like you said, Jackie, you have to set realistic expectations of yourself first. Once you set those expectations of yourself and what you can and cannot do, there's nothing or anyone else can do that's going to make you overstep what you set for yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I just want to say, I'm so sorry, but I've kind of gone over my time. And Auntie, I love you. And
I love you more.
I definitely want to come back, but you ladies are amazing. And I think, you know, I'm definitely going to finish watching this after, but great show, Auntie.
Okay. I love you.
Love you.
All right. I'll see you next time.
I think that there are different dynamics as it relates to the expectations. So Toya was saying that some men will run you in the ground, and I don't remember all that she said, but what I was thinking was that if you're a strong Black woman and you have presented that way, and that's the way you started, you know, I don't know that it's necessarily in that dynamic a man running you into the ground, as opposed to you've started this dance.
Yeah.
And so the expectation is that what you started, unless there's some sort of dialogue that what we're doing is no longer working. What you started is what will continue, and it's not necessarily that he's trying to run you in the ground, but that was just the dance that was created from the beginning. From the beginning. Yeah. Also, if a woman is not at the place where she can actually say, "I need help," even in her strong Blackness and all of the things that go along with that, she knows internally that she's at the end of her rope, or she knows internally that what she needs. But if she's not communicating it and she continues to put on this air of strength, it could easily go missed.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And someone, a little birdie, just sent some hearts to one of our guests. That's Dr. Danita's husband. Pastor Arnell. Gonna send her some hearts. So, in talking about relationships, so what about when a strong woman is seeking some sort of emotional support from her partner? How does that idea of the strong Black woman impact when she needs that emotional support from him or her if they're in a same-sex relationship?
You, at the very beginning of the show this evening, you quoted an article, and one of the things I remember you talked about was the repression of emotion. Right? We push it down. And I think, at least in relationships where two black individuals, I'm going to just focus in on that dynamic, that repression is so commonplace in our culture for survival again, right? Because when, we're out in the world, so we have this shell, we have our armor that we have to have in order to survive. And then we get into these dynamics where now we're supposed to know how to put them down, put the armor down, and be safe and be gentle and be with each other. Those are not skills that are not taught, that it's hard for everybody, right? Because none of it feels safe, none of it feels steady. The foundation or whatever we're building our relationship on, if it stays on that we're both strong, right? I'm a strong Black woman, and I've navigated these spaces that have been unsafe professionally or socially, and then whoever her partner is, they're a strong Black, whoever, man, woman, however they identify, then it takes really intentional work to create space, to know how to make space, to know how to hold space, so that I can ask for help when I need it, and it doesn't feel threatening, or that we're not viewing the opposite of strength as weakness in a negative light, and so therefore I can't ask for help because I don't want to be viewed as weak, right? And so I think that's a very specific set of skills. It's essentially a form of code switching, right? That, in our homes, in our most intimate relationships, we can be one way, but then the minute we walk out those doors and we're and especially if we're working in spaces that are not safe, that we have to turn and we have to be on. And then that constant, that in itself is exhausting, right? And so learning how to hold space for one another, I mean, that's what the point of community is. But I think it's a set of intentional skills that have to be nurtured and cultivated. Otherwise, like Dr. Danita said, we just keep perpetuating whatever this representative of ourselves is in a relationship where I don't need help, or I don't know how to ask for help, or I'm scared, or I view needing help as a character flaw, when in fact you're a human. Like we're humans. And
we also
I'm sorry, go ahead.
As Lia was saying, these are skills that we're lacking, skills that need to be taught. And we also don't get much modeling. We don't get modeling in the media. We don't get modeling in social media. Most of it is perpetuated in the media. Most of the Black sitcoms, the woman is the strength of the family. The woman is the controlling partner in the family. And so we just keep seeing this over and over again. And so it's hard to process in our minds something different when we're being fed the same narrative. We are. We don't, I've never heard anybody call white women strong or Latino women strong. It's just a narrative for Black women.
Very true. That is so true.
Absolutely.
That is so true. And, I think sometimes, we're talking about skills for us, but I also think it's important that if there could be education for them. Because if we are strong, we're aggressive and bitchy. If we ask for help, we're incompetent. So I think there needs to be some education for them as we are getting skills for ourselves in terms of how we navigate this whole concept.
Yeah. Who is the them you're referring to?
Anyone other than us, especially in the workplace.
Okay.
Especially in the workplace. Because even now, this is 2025, but there may be individuals who, let's say a woman of color is hired, a Black woman is hired in a particular place of employment, and she's the only one there. For some people of other ethnicities, that could very well be their first encounter on that level with a Black woman.
Yeah.
And all they have are those stereotypes, Dr. Dina, that you just mentioned. What they see on TV, what they see in film, what they read in social media, and all that business. So yeah, I think education is important. Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's something Angel said. Hey, Angel, and thank you so much for watching. One of my coworkers from the VA. She said the strong Black woman thing comes from several factors. One, we are not viewed as being fragile. Two, the saying, we raise our daughters and love our sons. That I've heard that before, gives the impression we don't need love or have feelings. And third, we as women are quicker to put our heads down and plow forward. Great points, Angel. Great points. Any of you guys want to speak to anything Angel just said there?
I agree with it. I agree with every point that she's made. And unfortunately, as we've been talking since we've been on, the fact that women, we have to put our head down and plow forward, most times it's because of circumstances. Mm-hmm. Right? We're sort of forced into those situations, not that we readily want to take up that mantle. When I was married, I did not want to be the strong woman in the marriage, in the relationship or of the family, but circumstances forced me into that role. And something that I've just carried until now. So, but yeah, I definitely agree with what Angel said. Those were very good points, Angel.
Yeah. And Lauren, what you just said, we talked about a few moments ago. She said that she was once called too aggressive at work, but the Caucasian women who asked the very same questions were called assertive. And yeah, unfortunately, that is something that happens in the workplace, not just in the workplace. Hey, we Christians. Does it happen at church too? I mean, if we're going to talk about it, let's talk about it.
So you made a comment just a couple minutes ago, Valerie, about education for whoever the other is. Mm-hmm. And while that's important, right, all the companies that are not rolling back their DEI initiative, right? While that is important, that we also can't control what is absorbed, right? We can't control whether or not somebody really wants to sit and listen and learn, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think that places places even more importance on community within ourselves, because and so that we can lean and learn from each other and also teach each other whatever these skills are, because the outside world, we can't control whether or not they make it a safe place for us.
Right.
And so when there was a comment earlier, someone talked about the older generation seemed focused on family and community, and the younger generation, was about them and themselves, right? And I think that is one of the things that younger generations we do miss, and we are not getting the benefit of as much, is the benefit of community. So yes, there is more autonomy. Yes, there's more independence. One of the drawbacks is this lack of cohesive community that allows us to lean on each other in the midst of an outside world that is unsafe emotionally. And so I think that's one of the things that hopefully the pendulum starts to swing back center again, that we're not like, our identity is not just so that we can make babies and make somebody's dinner, but also our identity is not like all me for me, right? And that somewhere we're going to swing back into some center ground where we can actually have community with each other.
That's true. In my experience, I don't know actually what there is to swing back to. And I say that I had the privilege of working for a predominantly Black company. The CEO was Black. The vice president was Black. I'm Black. I was third in charge. And then again, and it was predominantly Black women. And unfortunately, the lack of support amongst that community, the lack of skills, and I don't want it to sound as negative as it does, because I think the biggest problem was because we were a Black company, we had to always hold ourselves at a higher standard. For example, Dr. Danita has braids in her hair. I have braids in my hair. We could not wear braids to work. We could not wear boots to work. So we had to, they thought we had to hold ourselves above some of our cultural traditions because we were a Black company. And because of that, there was a lot of interpersonal strife, confusion, mistrust. There was not a lot of opportunity to actually support one another in that arena. And so if the people that are in those positions, if they don't have the skills, how do we teach it to someone else?
Yeah, that's a good point. And that's unfortunate because one would hope and pray and expect that an environment like the one you just described would be nurturing and supportive and encouraging and uplifting. And when it's not, wow, I can't even begin to imagine what that's like. I mean, listen, I'm a Black woman working at a company, even though it is a mental health practice, it's still a business. The CEO is a Black woman. Lia is one of my colleagues who is a Black woman. There are other women there who are Black women. There are Black men there. And I cannot tell you that I have ever worked in a more familial, encouraging, welcoming, nurturing, uplifting environment. So I think it really depends on the mentality and the mindset of the one who's in charge. And fortunately for us, Lia, me and you and everybody else at Mending Hearts, we have Dr. Danita. So I really think like everything else, it starts with the top and all that stuff trickles downhill. And what is it going to be? It's either going to be jewels or it's going to be poop. And unfortunately, in a lot of cases, it's poop. But for us, we have jewels coming from Dr. Danita. So
thank you, Valerie.
An unfortunate experience. I'm sorry, chat. Yeah.
It wasn't a good one.
Yeah. And Lauren says she agrees. And Brother Alvin, who is also another passionate people helper at Mending Heart, Strong Black Queens. Right on, brother. So, we talked earlier about how women are viewed in the healthcare environment. So how can Black women who are viewed as strong Black women, how can they or we advocate for our own mental and emotional well-being, especially when we are in environments that expect us to be strong all the time?
I think we have begun seeing some modeling of that. We have therapy for Black women. We have many podcasts that champion women taking care of themselves and advocating, for mental health for Black women. So I definitely see of late, especially since the stigma is continuing to be lifted. It does make room for us to be, more assertive in getting what we need, getting the help we need.
Yeah.
Gives us
and to know that it's okay.
Permission. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Gives us permission.
Yeah, give us permission. We need to know that it's okay to do that.
Well, I think one of the what is really transformative is that we as Black women are recognizing that we are more than just how we show up for other people, right? So when we allow ourselves to have our full humanity, whether that is like we're not just this, that we are whole humans, that there is complexity, that there's nuance to us, that as we embrace that for ourselves, that occurs, that other people we become free to show all sides of ourselves, right? Or that we're not limited to show up in a certain way. And so I think that's like what Dr. Danita just said. I think that's the shift that's happening, is that, oh, I'm this, and 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 I'm allowed to be all of this. And so if I want to be a princess one day, and I want my husband to be like, hey, Leah, I'm going to bring you breakfast in bed, and then the next day I'm like, I'm getting the same job. Like, all of that is embraced because I'm a complex human, not just somebody's mom, somebody's wife, somebody's deaconess, somebody, you know what I mean? Like, there's allowed to be complex.
Yeah.
That's good. Also, we have, I think, well, I can say our generation anyway. I think even the younger generation, I think that women are understanding to set boundaries for themselves, because I think women are coming to the understanding of it's okay to say no, and it's okay not to be okay. Just don't stay there. And so I've definitely seen that shift, even with my own daughters, whom I love dearly. They've set boundaries, and they give pushback. Like, no, I'm not doing this, or I'm not able to do this right now. If I can help you tomorrow or the next day. And I think that's a good thing. But the first step is we have to be honest with ourselves about ourselves. And understand that we can't do everything for everyone all the time and not take care of ourselves.
Absolutely. And being able to deal with or unpack the guilt. When you're able to unpack the guilt and know that you have a right to say no.
Yes.
And that saying no this time will provide strength and relaxation and a pour back into you so that you have the strength to say yes the next time.
Absolutely.
That's good. You know, I actually, with one of my clients, who is more mature, I think she might be in her mid to late 50s. And we have been working through boundary setting. And we've been talking about it, processing it, going through all the whole process. And the other day, you know, Dr. Danita, you're going to sit in on some of our sessions for supervision, right? And she was the first person that I thought of. And I communicated with her, and I said, you know, my supervisor periodically, maybe once a year or however, will sit in on some of our sessions as a supervisor. And I'm wondering if you're going to be okay with that. So she sent me a text back, and she said, Valerie, you know, I'm not really comfortable with having your supervisor in our session. And I said, okay, fine. That's perfectly okay. And then she texted me back. She said, does that count as boundary setting? Because if so, I will.
Yes, ma'am.
I said, absolutely. I sent her thumbs up. I said, I'm so proud of you. Yes, because even it doesn't matter who it is, me, whatever. It's okay to set a boundary. And I was so proud of her for doing that. So she said, yeah, I want credit. I said, yeah, you got credit. Boundaries. Yeah, that's good. And I think for a lot of us in our generation, we had no clue about boundaries. Who knew about boundaries?
No.
Who knew what a boundary was? We didn't hear about stuff like that.
Not at all.
You know, 40s, 50s, when we finally started hearing about boundaries. Before that, I didn't know anything about setting a boundary with anybody. I didn't know that I could set a boundary with anyone. And my thought back then was that it was cruel. You know, seeing it as punitive, but it's not. It's really healthy. Set boundaries when you know when you do it the right way, because even that has to be structured in a particular way. But you know, a moment ago I briefly touched on church and whatnot, so I want to ask a question. I'm wondering if there have ever been moments in your life where your faith has either challenged or reinforced the expectations associated with being a strong Black woman?
Yes, yes, and yes. Dr. Danita just said the word guilt. And Val, you know this. When that my sister and I, well, actually our whole family, we were all attending the same church, and we served on this board, this committee. We were just very active as a family. When the church doors opened, the expectation was that we would be there. And when we weren't there, we suffered, or we felt guilty. At least I did. Felt guilty for not being there. And it took me a while to understand, no, I don't have to be there every time. I'm a wife. I have 3 children. I have a home. I have a job. Like, I have other responsibilities in life. But the expectation, especially because we were a family, the expectation was that we would always be front and center any day of the week, no matter what was going on. And that, I can say it now, that actually did impact my marriage in a negative way.
So as I thought about this this question, and just to piggyback off of what Jackie is saying, the expectation for us to show up, and be actively involved in ministry. For women, at least when I was going to church, there was always more women than men. So because there were more women than men, we had a lot more responsibilities, right? However, I'm growing up in a traditional Pentecostal environment. And so even though all of the responsibilities, a lot of the responsibilities are placed on women, the women still don't have, they don't, what's the term that I'm looking for? They didn't have a voice. It was patriarchal.
Yes.
There it is. That's the word. I've been waiting for that word all night. Yes.
And so while we were expected to do all the things, we held the church down in prayer. We did the fasting and the shut-ins and the praying all weekend, and the women up in the wailing, up in the rooms. We did all of that, but yet we were placed always in lower positions. And in many of the churches where I grew up, it's still that way today. When I say lower positions, I mean like men sit, literally physically sit higher than the woman on the lower podium. And the women are still holding the church down. And I struggled internally from the time that I could understand what I was seeing. I had, like, they would consider rebellion in your spirit. I had rebellion in my spirit because it just did not sit well with me that I was expected to do all things and then still be looked on as you're just,
So, I mean, but, right? So we talk about the church as an organization being patriarchal. And when you challenged the role that you were expected to play, the language used, we talked about Black women as angry, Black women as whatever, and now it's rebellion, right? There's a rebellion in your spirit. So now there's not just like societal implications. Oh my gosh, my spirit is at risk, right? And so we're talking about power, right? How does the name of strong Black woman continue to support and perpetuate a patriarchal society, a patriarchal women? And so I'm gonna stop there because
no, don't stop, keep going.
I think so. When we talk about, Dr. Danita just said that a lot of the running of the church falls on the backs of women. That is how it perpetuates the strong Black woman concept because we're showing up. You got to be there. You got to do this. And you better do it with a giving and grateful heart. You Proverbs 31 woman, right? Like, and so but also be soft, right? All of these expectations. And I think when we start saying, hey, this doesn't feel right, to what extent is it heard? To what extent is it actually listened to?
Yeah.
Is it valued? Is it appreciated? Or is it viewed as this is a rebellion? And that spiritual label is what is used to kind of keep people in their place. And so, but I don't know if that's a conversation like at the church as a whole is ready to talk about, because while we have our relationship with Christ, that there is a power structure.
Right.
I think that I have, so that power structure remains in so many denominations, but I have been exposed of late to churches that are a lot more progressive, and it's just really a breath of fresh air. Listen to some of these faith leaders who are putting the onus on the men and saying you have a responsibility to treat women fairly. You have responsibility to, to show up in the ways in which, the scriptures say that you're supposed to show up, lead, recognize what women bring to the table. And, just all of those things. It has been refreshing to see some of the younger generation just approach their leadership very differently than what I'm supposed to.
And, the interesting thing about that is the younger progressive churches, or even progressive, and let's say the church leaders not necessarily a whole, very young, but more progressive. The traditional leaders in churches call these individuals heretics. That's interesting.
Yeah. I agree. When my husband and I were pastoring, I just felt very blessed to be as old as we were, but still have the thought and the mindset that it needed to be something different from what we grew up with. Because so many people, you do what you know. When people say, oh, we want church different. Well, how do you know what church different is if you only know what you've been exposed to? So for us, church different had to really be going to the Lord and hearing what he had to say and not following models that we had, been exposed to throughout our upbringing.
Yeah, that's good. That's very good. That's very good. So then how can biblical teachings be interpreted to support a healthier, more balanced view of strength and vulnerability among Black women? What do you think needs to change in that area, and in terms of how the Bible is taught, how it's interpreted? Because we can have 5 people read the same passage and get 5 different interpretations, because it all goes through that lens that we have. So what do you say to that?
When I did read the question, I thought about it for a little while, and what kept playing in my mind was, if the leaders and the people are truly following Christ, if they have a personal relationship, because all of that other stuff gets caught up in religion. And it's not about religion, it's relationship. I think that when a leader, the pastor, the shepherd, if he has a personal relationship and he really does seek God, you use the word trigger down earlier, sis, that's going to trigger down to those that he shepherds, right? And so the biblical teaching as a whole the congregation, most of them, would be on the same page because of the leader. And for anybody that does not know, I love Alfred Street Baptist Church in Arlington, Virginia, Reverend Howard John Wesley. This man teaches, he invites women, the women ministers of the church from outside to come and preach. Like, he believes in that. They go out into the community, and the things that I've witnessed the church do in the community, it starts with him because he stays in God's face. He seeks him for everything. And so he empowers the Black women of his church. He does not fall into that traditional, he talks about it because that's how he grew up. His dad was a pastor, but he doesn't fall into that patriotic triangle or syndrome or whatever. He doesn't fall under that sequence. It's God can use woman, man, children. Like, he phenomenal. And I just think that if the leader, if the shepherd is truly seeking God and really has a heart for God and has a relationship with him, it will all fall into place the way it's supposed to.
Yeah. But on the other side of that, sis, those who say that women should not be pastors, women should not be preachers, women should not hold certain offices within a church structure, they also say that they are seeking God. They also say that they have a relationship with Christ. They also say that they are following the word of God. So again, I think it really comes down to interpretation and teachings, and you're going to have people on both sides of the spectrum who are entrenched in their position and are convinced that they are right.
And I agree with you. That's true.
Yeah.
And so I have to add now, if they're only looking at the law, yes. But if the Bible that I read and what I understand, Jesus had women who preached, correct? Who spread the gospel. There were some. And so, yeah, it is how the interpretation is. I don't know. I'm gonna leave that because that faith talk can go a long way. So I'm gonna let that one go.
Okay.
I agree. I agree with you, Valerie. There are so many who are expounding upon the word, who are taking scripture out of context, who are not sharing the historical context in which that particular story is being shared. They're not sharing with the people that there is a difference between what God, I heard it, there's descriptive and prescriptive scriptures. So some of the word is just describing what happened in history. It's not necessarily what is being commanded by the Lord for us to live by today. And so I agree with you, Valerie. And really what it boils down to is that you have your own personal relationship with the Lord. And that particular ministry does not permit you to flow in the way in which God has ordained you to flow, that he has called you to do. That ministry is not for you.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, Mama used to say, one monkey don't stop no show. and not one pastor can stop a woman who has been ordained and called by God. Can't do it.
That's right.
Can't do it. Can't do it. You know, I heard something the other day, and I don't know, I can't remember who said it, but when I'm thinking about that, for me, it kind of ties into this so-called strong Black woman syndrome phenomenon, however you want to phrase it. And what I read was, I'd rather be hated for who I am than loved for who I am not. Because that speaks to a high level of authenticity and being okay with it, being okay with just who you are, just who God created you to be. I know Jackie talked about, I don't know, some of you may, others have talked about it also, about your experience with being the strong Black woman. Has it ever impacted your personal, professional life? And I think you hit on it already. If you didn't, and you want to talk about it now, that's fine.
I definitely had that experience. Prior to being a mental health counselor, I was a classroom teacher, and good at my job, right? I think I was pretty effective. And one of the things that started to happen is depression kicked in. But depression didn't look like the depression, how it may show up in other women, non-Black women, or even white women, just to be specific, right? Is that it didn't stop me from working. I showed up every day. I still excelled, right? So somebody made a comment earlier in the evening about putting your head down and plowing through. And we do that. And so this high functioning depression kicked in. So I was still performing. And on the outside, nobody would have known. On the inside, I was completely numb, right? And really struggling. And I think that I ended up having to take some time off because at some point the cracks started to show, right? But I think one of the additional dangers of this strong Black woman label is that we keep pushing through, and so there is anxiety, there's depression, there's past trauma. None of it gets addressed, because as long as we keep showing up and we do it so well, and so everybody's getting their needs met, I'm repressing and pushing away my own, and at some point that tower crumbles. Like there was I can't remember her name, Chesley Christ. She was she was a beauty pageant. She ranked up really high, right? And she was known book tours, and she ended up dying by suicide. But her persona was so polished and so glamorous, and so, and she was depressed. Nobody would have known it. And so her mom actually, published some of her writings and really speaks on that topic. But I think that's when you talk about, does it impact you professionally, that I had that specific experience where the pushing through, and it is, like you said, it's learned behavior. We learn it. We just I keep going. One monkey don't stop no show. Like that applies in so many different ways. Or even, in my family, if you're not doing something, then I'm lazy, right? Like, oh, what did you do today? I had such a lazy day. I swept, I did all the laundry, and that's considered lazy, right? And so this constant pushing through does take its toll on our mental health, both personally and professionally.
Yeah.
And in addition to the pushing through, it's the constant pressure of excellence.
Yes.
And not making a mistake to bring any kind of reproach on us.
Black
because
excellence.
We represent all of us.
Right.
And they make sure that they let us know, because we're different, that they let us know that we represent everyone. Because they'll say, well, they don't know that I don't know that I'm making this connection right, but the comment is, you're different. You're not like
them.
So that to me puts pressure on me to show that we are good people,
Exactly.
that can excel in the same areas that you excel. And I think I shared on one of the episodes, Valerie, the interview that I had where I was interviewing to be a teacher in South Brunswick schools. And the superintendent asked me, is it more important to have someone who is qualified or someone who looks like the children that we now have, that the population of African Americans is growing. And so while I was able to be strong and say what I needed to say to him then, that really did something to me. And I'm like, am I really not that smart? Am I, are they real? Did they really get more than me? Do they really know more than I do? That's a lot of pressure.
It is.
Even in this space that I'm in now, I as a CEO, as a Black-owned business, a woman-owned business, I am just getting to the place where I am feeling that I don't have to, because the white people that are coming to the practice, what are they going to think about being 99% African American, and all the thoughts that I remember having a conversation with my children. And I'm like, oh, should I do natural hair? This was years ago. And they're like, Mom, you're a whole boss. You do what you want to do. And people don't know the inner struggle, that you have just trying to make sure that people see you, as successful, or people see you the way that you're trying to, present. So you have to work. You feel like you have to work. No, you do have to work.
It's so much harder.
So harder.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it also comes from the inside too, though, right? Because so there's the perception of the outsiders, which I can't imagine all that you had to navigate with that. But there's also you're the one that's gonna make it out. You're the one that's gonna do the thing, right? And so all of the pressure to not fail, not slip up, right? Because it's not just me, it's my whole family, it's my whole community. Who has now put their hopes and dreams and expectations on me to then, so it's a double whammy, right?
Yeah. And the young girls that have come, even clients have had young daughters, and they say, oh, I tell my daughter all the time, the owner is a Black woman and you can, because she did. That's a lot of pressure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And, I think someone put it up earlier about behaviors and things that we learned from our mothers and our grandmothers. That mantle was put on us. I grew up believing, because I was told, that I represented the entire Black community. Okay. You have to behave a certain way because you represent not just yourself. You're representing your mama, your grandmama, your auntie, your great auntie, Miss Susie down the street, Uncle Johnny across the way. You're representing everyone. And like you said, Dr. Nita, that is a lot of pressure. And in our generation, there were a lot of firsts. The first to graduate high school, the first to attend college, the first to get any type of higher degree. Yeah, there were a lot of firsts in our generation, and that absolutely was a lot of pressure.
And you'd be surprised that when you say your mama saying we represent, the representation was in every single thing that we did. I can remember you better wear clean underwear, clean panties, and clean bra. Because if you get in an accident, I don't want nobody to know that you were a Miles and you didn't have on clean underwear. I mean, the representation was across the board, every single thing that you did.
Absolutely. And I think that's why I believe we got so good at code switching, because we could be that out in the world. But when I come home, listen, I don't need to do that anymore. I could use bad grammar. I could say ain't And I could say whatever when I'm out in public. That's a different story.
He be, she be, and we be.
Exactly.
Wait a minute. That's not even bad grammar, right? Like,
right.
That's not bad grammar. That's the system at play that tells us that the way we speak
not the standard
is not good enough, right? Like,
exactly. Yes, but
we bought into it using the same terminology that they use.
Yep.
Isn't that amazing?
Mm-hmm.
That is absolutely amazing. Because I was having a conversation with my son, and I said to him, I said, baby, you know, I don't know if you've ever seen the look. And this is what I mean by that look. When I have spoken with someone on the telephone, and, you know, my name is Valerie Mason back then, or Valerie Mason Chase after I got married. You don't know if I'm black, white, or what I am. Can't tell by my voice because I have my telephone voice.
Mm-hmm.
But then when I walk in the door, I can see that look. Oh, crap. I didn't know she was black.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen it so many times. And to me, it's hilarious now. It used to bother me. It doesn't bother me anymore because I think it's funny. I don't know if any of you have ever had that experience of seeing the look that someone now sees that you are black after speaking to you on the phone and didn't really know.
Yeah, I didn't necessarily get it wasn't the look, but it was when we were looking for an apartment. We were living in Brooklyn and we were trying to move on the other side of the street. And the apartment was available until we got there. We got there 10 minutes after speaking to the woman on the phone, and it had been rented.
Yep.
She was waiting for us.
Too.
She's waiting for us, and the place went rented before we got there.
Happened to us too. We showed up with our daughter Sidel, who's made the comment right there. She was a baby. Showed up with her in the stroller, and it had been rented by the time we got there. Because see, back then there was no internet, there was no rent.com. You looked in a newspaper. And you marked off places and you called all the various places. And if they were still available, you would go and you would look at the apartment. Same thing happened, Dr. Danita. So, yeah. And my daughter, unfortunately, and Sidel is 42 years old. So she's much younger. And she says she's seen that look many times. It's unfortunate that even she has seen that look.
Yeah.
But
I've seen it. I had one in particular, though, when I was younger. I got hired over the phone for a position, reported to work that Monday at the time that I was supposed to be there, walked in, said to the receptionist, gave her my name, told her who I was there to see. When that woman who's not black walked out and saw me, oh, sorry, the position was already filled, but you just hired me on Friday. I reported on Monday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. Yeah.
I was given a position as a dean. I laugh every time I think about it. I was the dean of in Brooklyn. They didn't call us guidance counselors. We were dean of students. And so, and you would serve for the 3 years. You would go with your class. So my 6th grade class, then I was still their dean, 7th and 8th grade, and then someone else would rotate into the position. But the attendance person was an older white woman. So she sat in the office with me. I can tell you, I do not remember a time that when a parent came in to speak to the dean, that they did not stop at her first. And then she pointed them to me. I was only like 25, 20, maybe 28. So, yeah. And she would say, that's Miss Thompson. And they would take do the look.
Yeah, absolutely. It's unfortunate. And maybe at some point in my daughter or my granddaughter's lifetime, that will change. It ain't going to change in my lifetime. I'm already 68 years old and it ain't changed yet.
It's going backwards.
We're going backwards now. So it's going to take a lot for that to change. But I want to ask what message would you like to give to young Black girls who are growing up in the midst of this stereotype syndrome, whatever you want to call it? What would you say to them?
Know your self-worth.
Mm-hmm.
Be honest with yourself. Set boundaries for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And don't allow anyone to tell your narrative other than you.
Okay.
I think it's more than saying. I think it's walking alongside. I think young girls need more mentors, more models, more discipleship in this area of becoming strong within themselves, but not losing themselves. And that takes time and modeling, and it takes discipling and just helping them to see along the way as they grow, as they get older. It takes ongoing communication and relationship, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think I would say something similar to that. To invest in your relationships, invest in community of some sort, because I mean we grow on our own, but we also grow. Our relationships are mirrors back to us. So if we're isolated, or if I can do it all by myself and I don't need no one, if we're that mentality, we certainly can grow, but we go that much further and that much deeper when we're in relationship, because the relationship mirror things back to us, or people can actually show up for us, and we don't have to carry the burdens alone. So I'd say invest in your relationships, and not just your romantic relationships, because that's what I see a lot happening is it's like, oh, I got a boo, and they're laser focused in that one area. Invest in your friendships.
Yeah,
that's good. And Miss D said, accept the fact that I'm not Superwoman. We're not. There was a song, I'm not your Superwoman. You remember that song?
Yes.
Oh, wow, this has been amazing. But I don't want to say goodnight until I give each of you an opportunity to share a little something about yourself. And we're going to start with Miss Lia, since you're here for the first time. Tell us yours. I know I have your bio in the description, but in case they want to hear your words and talk about yourself just a little bit.
Well, my bio has most of it. I see the vast bulk of my clients through Mending Hearts and behavioral counseling. And so that's typically where I work with people. I do see a handful of people independently. And then my Instagram is Cultivated Wellness, Cultivated Wellness Counseling. It's not as updated. I'm not as frequent. Social media is something I'm still learning to navigate. So I'm there for the most part. But usually to find me, it's through Mending Hearts.
Okay, but also if anyone is interested in contacting Lia, you can reach out to her on Instagram. She says she's not taking new clients right now because she's kind of full, but listen, don't dismiss her. Just keep her in mind. Write down the information, and maybe when you're ready, she'll have a spot for you. Okay? Miss Lia. And I want you all who are still here, because I know some people have dropped off. This is Lia's first time here. I want you all to just show some love to Miss Lia, because we want her back. I want her back. So this is Lia's Instagram in case you want to contact Miss Lia. Miss Lia, you've been phenomenal, Lia, and I appreciate you so much.
Appreciate it.
For being here. I told Dr. Danita a couple of months ago, I think we were in supervision or something. I said, you know something? I've just fallen in love with Lia. I just love Lia. Your spirit and the way that you speak with, I don't know, how would I describe it? Conviction, but a gentleness at the same time.
And confidence.
Confidence. Yeah, I really appreciate that about you, Lia.
Thank you. Thank you. That means a lot coming from you. Thank you. Yes.
Dr. Danita, you've been here before.
Yes, and I have shared lots of times. So in the essence of time, I'm going to go ahead and let Jackie share because I have shared, and I will be on. I don't know how many more times.
She'll be back on again. But
yeah, I'll be back on.
Listen, she's not going to say anything, but she's got a journal that I am going to highly, 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 highly recommend. You can get it at drdanitaThompson.com. You can find her journal, and it's Set Your Body Free, Mind, Body, and Spirit, a Journal to Freedom. And, you know, there are a lot of journals out there, but one of the things, not the thing, but one of the things that make this journal so special is that it's not dated, so that you can go through it at your own pace. You can do, and you don't have to do all at the same time. You can do some mind, and the next day you can do body, and 2 days later you can do spirit, because it's sectioned off mind, body, and spirit. So go to drdanitaThompson.com and order your book today. Mother's Day is going to be here in a couple of months. This will make an excellent Mother's Day gift. Okay, and if it sounds like okay, my sister Jackie.
Well, before I talk about me, it is a great journal. I happen to have one that my sister purchased for me, and I still use it, Dr. Danita. And like Val said, I do a little bit in this section today, and then I might do something. So it really is great. And I just also recommend that if you don't have it, that you purchase one. I think that it will definitely encourage each person who is listening tonight or who will watch it later. It is definitely a good tool to have.
Thank you. Thank you.
So hold on, Jackie. I want Lia to see what Sedell wrote. Sedell is my daughter. You see that?
I saw it. I love it. Thank you.
Okay, go ahead, sis.
I'm a mom. I have a master's in public affairs, public administration. I'm a grandma too. Let me not leave that out. I have a master's of divinity. Right now, I am in between spaces. I think that's the best way to describe it. I do have on Instagram, Lifeline Prayer Ministry. I have a heart for prayer. I have a heart for women. And so I try and post daily. I also have Lifeline Prayer Ministry on Facebook. I try to post daily. I'm still working on that. And I forgot the other thing, Val. Just that quick.
Yeah, your Jackie's Inspirational Corner on YouTube.
Thank you. Yes. I post many sermons or just prayer or just questions. My heart really is to spread the gospel. When I finally agreed with God to go obtain my master's of divinity, the one stipulation I had was, Lord, I don't ever want to be a pastor. And so I minister through the internet. I use technology for that. But I'm just a woman after God's heart that wants to see change. I want to see people fall in love with Christ the way that God loves us.
Yes. And my sister Jackie is an absolute prayer warrior. You can reach out to her. Listen, if you ask her for a prayer, she's going to send you a prayer. She's either going to call you and pray with you and for you. She's going to send you a voice note with the prayer, or she'll send you an email with the prayer. So here's Jackie on YouTube, Jackie's Inspirational Corner, and Jackie is on Instagram, Lifeline Prayer Ministry. So I think we covered it all. And y'all know me, I'm Valerie. I'm from Marriage Beyond the Breach. So you can find me on YouTube, you can find me on Facebook, you can find me on Instagram. But I love this is, I'm telling you, this is my heart right here. I love doing these podcasts, even though I'm really nervous as all get out before I do them. I love making the connections. I love hearing people who have a heart for God, but also for edifying others and encouraging others and uplifting others, educating others, because that's something that we all need. We never get to the place where we know all that there is to know. There's always something else to learn. And one of my mottos is I want to learn something new every day. And every once in a while, there might be a day where I feel like, wow, I didn't learn anything new today. But most days, I'll hear something or I'll see something and I'll say, wow, that's my thing for today. So my prayer is that for those of you who were listening today, that this was your thing for today, that this was something, that there was something that you learned here today, and you can say, that was my thing for today. So I want to invite you all to come back next week. Actually, I'm not sure what we're going to be talking about next week, but I'll be here. So come on back and hang out with us. Y'all going to find out, because once I decide, I'll post a flyer on Facebook and you all will see. And Lia, I love you. Dr. Danita, I love you. Sis, I love you. And I thank you all so much from the bottom of my heart. Y'all have a great night. And I'll see you next time.
Good night, ladies.
Good night.
Good night.
Okay, good night.